Hi class, welcome to week 8 of our course in ethics. We are flying along, one more week to go. This week I want to talk a little bit more about applied ethics, and I'm going to have you watch a video about a very famous essay written in the 1970s about abortion, written by J.J. Thomson, a famous essay that she wrote to make a case for abortion in certain circumstances. And it's been a famous article that's still required in certain university courses today. So it's worth reading, and I want you to look at how she spells out her arguments and also how one might go about responding to a philosophical ethical argument, which is what I do in the video. Then I want to look a little bit at the growing case against ethics. And I'm going to have you watch an essay that's a little bit more about the history of philosophy than about ethics, but it looks at how Darwin, Nietzsche, and Freud helped undermine the modern conscience, helped undermine the modern sense of humanity being a special being or a special part of God's creation with a moral conscience that was imprinted by God, and look at the shifting anthropology that happened in the 19th and 20th century as a result of their work. We could put Marx in there as well, but it was actually Darwin and Freud who really captured the changing perception of what a human being is, and then Nietzsche, who carried that out in the ethical realm, who took the underlying anthropology of the two other thinkers and applied it to ethics specifically. So I'm going to have you watch a video on that. But I want to in this introduction here, flesh out a little bit about how one might go about making a case against ethics. Remember, we've talked about different categories that we use within an ethical framework, and one of those that we looked at was metaethics. Metaethics is the investigation of what good and bad really are, not what behaviors can be evaluated as good or bad, or what standards we use to evaluate what is good or bad, but actually what is goodness? Is goodness a thing that exists in the world, or is it just an idea in our mind, or just our feelings that emerged out of our desire to survive? Metaethics is the field of ethical theory that asks, what is good really? What is bad really? Not what things are bad, but what is badness? Is it a thing at all? And a modern case is being made by philosophers like Bernard Williams and others that ethical theory is off base in assuming that right and wrong really exist at all, that they really are things. And the case is being made that, in fact, all the realist claims about morality are wrong. Remember, we can look at morality as developing from a number of different sources. Morality might be real facts that exist in the world, the way G.E. Moore said. Goodness exists in the world like the color yellow exists in the world, and you perceive it if your eyes are working. You perceive morality if your moral conscience is working. And so Moore was a realist. And some people are moral realists. They believe moral facts exist, either because God created them to, or just because they exist the way physical objects exist. We're going to put realism to the side for just a second and look at moral anti-realism, because the anti-realist view is the one that claims that ethics is really kind of a wash. We can study it, but the hope that it creates moral prescriptions, normative prescriptions, is just a false hope. In fact, ethics never leads to definitive claims. Anti-realists can be divided into two camps. There are cognitivists and non-cognitivists. Let's look at the non-cognitivists first. A non-cognitivist believes that ethical claims are not making statements about the world that can be evaluated as true or false. A non-cognitivist believes that moral statements are not propositional knowledge, they're not facts. Rather, they tend to be more feeling-oriented. And so one common strain of non-cognitivist, anti-realist ethics is called emotivism. And it's the belief that moral statements are just emotional statements that are sometimes misframed. So for instance, murdering is bad is just a way of creating a propositional statement out of a feeling, which is, ooh, I don't like murder. ooh, I hope I don't get murdered, right? And those are just feelings. And in fact, all ethical claims in the anti-realist, non-cognitivist, emotivist thread believe that ethical statements just derive from statements about emotions. Another non-cognitivist, anti-realist school of thought is prescriptivism. So when I say murder is wrong, what I mean is don't murder. I'm trying to control the world. I'm trying to tell the world how to be. I'm prescribing to the world how it should be. Don't murder. So I'm not actually making a statement about moral facts at all, because in this case, moral facts don't exist. I'm just saying how I want the world to be. And those are non-cognitivist, anti-realist threads in moral thinking. The other side of the coin is cognitivist anti-realists. And cognitivists believe that moral statements are propositional. They make statements that can be either true or false, but because they are anti-realist, they believe all moral statements are false. So it really can be evaluated. If you say murder is wrong, that really is a statement that can be evaluated as true or false. And if you're an anti-realist, you can land on the idea that that's just false. Because, for instance, one school of thought in this camp is called error theory. And moral error theorists hold that moral statements don't actually describe the world because there are not moral facts in the world. So statements about moral facts are just wrong. Another one is another cognitivist anti-realist school of thought is the subjectivist or the non-objectivist. And that's one where we say, for instance, this diamond is worth $1 million. I can say a diamond is worth $1 million, and I have made a true or false statement. And in this case, it's not necessarily false. I might be willing to pay $1 million for it. So I've made a statement, and it's true. But the value of the diamond is entirely subjective. It doesn't exist in the diamond itself. It exists in my perception of the diamond and the societal perception and value of the diamond. So it is making a true statement about it. It's just a true statement that's entirely subjective. We can imagine a world in which diamonds are worth nothing at all. And in that case, it would be still a true statement to say that diamond is worth nothing, but it's a subjective perception. So because there is this field of anti-realism, cognitivists and non-cognitivists, in which morality can be seen to be an emotion or a request that the world be the way the speaker wants it to be, or a mistake about perceptions in the world, or a subjective statement about values, there is a modern case that's being made that the whole world of ethical thought is in fact just a bit of a waste. It might be an interesting psychological or sociological field of studies, but it is not making any fundamentally true statements about the objective world outside of us, and thus it should not deserve the weight that it often gets in modern society and in the universities. Now that should give us pause. It should make us ask, what does that mean? And here, Nietzsche was right. If we undermine ethics, there arises an entirely new question of then, how should we live? Should I do whatever I want? Can I do whatever I can get away with? And Nietzsche would say yes. The only true value Nietzsche held to was the expression of human greatness. Become strong, become brilliant, become an artist, and express that so that humanity can see the peaks to which humanity can reach. But why anyone should actually aspire to that, Nietzsche could not tell us. Because in the end, when you pull the ethical fiber out from underneath society, there's very little meaning left. And so the modern movement towards anti-realism is, I'm afraid, a destructive one, as I think you'll see when we look at Darwin, Nietzsche, and Freud. That's what we're going to do this week. Look forward to hearing from you if you're in my class. I love the notes you've been sending. Appreciate that. Feel free to send me any questions you have, and I'll see you again soon.